Do you want to learn how to highlight and shine your letters to make them pop out of the page? Stay tuned, because I'm going to show you how to do that right now.
Creator Massive.
Welcome to Creator Massive. My name's Kato, and today we're going to take a look at some different ways that you can highlight and add shine to your letters so that they become more three-dimensional and pop out off of the page. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and you'll stay up to date with all the videos I'm putting out. For this lesson, I've used my iPad and I've created 3 different examples. One of them is a flat surface with a nice hard edge. The next one is a smooth curved surface. And the last one is more of a triangular surface. So it gives you 3 different ways that you can create highlights and shines to create 3 very different types of letters. Alright, enough talk. Let's get down and check it out. Alright, so what I've got here is a tag that I've done a drop shadow on, just so that I can show you the relationship between the shadow and the highlight. The sunlight is moving in this direction, and it's coming in contact with these edges here first, and then it's traveling over the letter and creating a shadow on the other side. So whatever side the highlight is on, the drop shadow will be on the opposite side. Now this is not true for 3-dimensional block letters. With a 3D block letter, the highlights aren't directly connected to the 3D, whereas with a drop shadow, they are, because the highlight is on the opposite side of where the shadow will be. Whereas with the 3-dimensional block letter, you can have that move in whatever direction you want. In this case, the letter is kind of moving up off the page that way. You could quite easily make it move this way off the page or that way off the page and still have the light source coming from this same direction. So just remember, if you're using a drop shadow, then the highlight and the drop shadow have a direct relationship. The highlight will come in and hit it, and it will create a shadow on the opposite side. Like in this example, it's coming across, hitting that front edge, shadowing on the back edge. But with your 3D block letter, they're different. You can have your light source coming from whatever direction you want, and your 3D moving in whatever direction you want. They don't have to be connected. Okay, so here I have 3 different examples of different shape letters and how they create different shines, different highlights. So down the bottom here, we have an example like the other ones that we've been looking at. It has a shape like this here. It's square. It's flat on the top, and it drops straight down at a 90-degree angle on the sides. That's why when the light is coming at this angle towards that edge that is white there, that has the highlight on it, is the closest edge to the light source. That's why it gets the most intense concentrated hit of light and creates this white edge. That's the reflection, the most intense point of light being reflected. When you have a look at this one up above, you see the shine is not running directly against the edge, and what that does is give it a curve shape. And the reason it's giving it a curve shape is if you look at this example here of the cross section, the closest point to the light source is not actually right against that edge. It's slightly in a bit, as you can see here. These lines, that's the point where the sunlight is going to hit it first and most intense. So that's where the highlight would be. As you see here, you can warp them and distort them a little bit, and that's going to just give it a different feel of thickness. See how it's going from thin to thick, little thicker blobs. It doesn't have to be perfect. This one here, it's all very uniform, straight edge, whereas on here, it gives it the feel like it's going thick to thin and kind of pushing out into areas. Like the letter is a bit, it's swelling out in certain areas. With this one here, this is giving you a completely different effect. Because this surface is actually triangular, this direction of light is hitting that surface evenly. So it's giving a uniform reflection on that whole surface. So that whole panel facing that direction that the sun is hitting or the light source is hitting, is reflecting completely back. For this one here, I've basically just drawn a line through the middle of the piece, or the letter, to find out where the ridge of that letter would be. Now, I didn't want to run it all the way to the edge. I wanted to have these little triangular pieces here. So what I've done is stop just before the edge and then created a little triangle piece at the end there. And I've done that in every little corner, every little bit where it's needed. Now what that does is it gives me 3 different types of panels, 3 different types of shadow. You have the brightest point here, which is the highlight, and that's the same as if you were just drawing a highlighted edge like that. That edge, the sun is moving this direction, or the light source is moving that direction. So all of those panels are going to be the lightest. Then all the ones on the opposite side are going to be the darkest. So that's why all those are the darkest. And because these ones are halfway in between, what I've done is just chose a color that is halfway in between the darkness of that and the lightness of that. So that's what I've done there to create that letter. And you can do that with whatever letters you want. It's going to be a lot easier with kind of block letters. If you're doing more curved, bubbly letters, it's a little bit trickier. If you keep it quite angular, it's easier to figure out how to lay that in. So this letter here, this is like a bubble letter or a throw up. Now it's quite easy to create this effect just on the fly. You don't have to think about it too much. You can just kind of lay it in slightly off the edge and it's going to give you that round effect. The inconsistencies in this line and the thickness and then the thinness of it is what gives it a bit more character and makes it look like it's going from thick to thin and more expressive. If it's just the same line the whole way through, it will still work, but it won't give as much character as what it does going from thicker parts and having little tapering edges and like this bit's thick and then it tucks into a thin line. It just tends to look a little bit more interesting. So there you have it. There's 3 different ways that you can create highlights and shines to help make your letters look more 3-dimensional and pop out of the page. If you got any questions or comments, leave them down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. If you got any cool ideas of things that you'd like to learn, leave them in the comments below and I'll see if they're worth turning into an episode. If you like what you saw in this episode, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you want to stay tuned to the weekly videos that I'm going to be doing. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson and I look forward to seeing you again next time. Peace. Subscribe. Remember to subscribe. That's a fucking bad. Remember to subscribe.